Hi friends, I'm here with Eric and Sarah, co-founders of the ThetahealingNYC.
Hello.
And we're here in day 2 of walking the path of a spiritually minded person. I'm very happy to catch you guys while you're here for a visit. I'm very glad for the opportunity. And why don't you tell our audience, our listeners, wherever you are, good morning, afternoon, good night. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm Sarah Faith Brummet, and we're here visiting the Kabbalah Center because we're going to teach some classes here in October. And I'm here with my husband.
Hello everyone, I am Eric. We run the ThetahealingNYC Center. That is a healing center focused on supporting people and empowering people through the teachings of Theta Healing, which is a technique focused on our connection with Creator. It is a technique that people use in every walk of life, every form of spirituality, and it's a real pleasure to be here with you.
Yes.
Yeah. And I've been doing some of this stuff with these guys as well. It's been a while, 2 years I believe last time.
Really?
I'm looking forward to the one in October to refresh my memories a little bit in the practice. Why don't you tell our audience, in your eyes, in your view, in your background with Theta Healing and your own spiritual work and journey, how would you define, in a simple way, spirituality? What does spirituality mean to you?
Through my life, it has always, it's matured as an understanding. So growing up, spirituality meant about being in nature and being out in an environment where you felt a oneness, where you felt a connection. And I think that has stayed as my primary aspect of spirituality, and really what I've found in having more of an actual practice, because growing up I didn't have a practice. I didn't grow up in a religion. So actually adopting a spiritual practice now, I would then add to that sense of oneness, having awareness of that oneness, where growing in my spirituality is really growing in my awareness of the Creator, of that sense of connection, and continuously working on myself using different techniques and tools and philosophies to then learn and grow and understand more and more of what that is, so I can have a much deeper experience of Creator.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
I mean, I think Eric poetically said it all. And I think my life, I always grew up missing. I think I was raised in a religious environment, but I was really missing the feeling of connection with God, with Creator, with light, whatever word you want to use. And so there was always this missing link. It almost felt as like a depression. I would almost describe it as a depression, a void. So once I came into practicing Theta Healing, and I think was able to work through my own frustrations with why there was hurt and pain and loss, that I could actually reunite with this sense of connection with Creator. It was like a blanket had been lifted off of me. So I think my feeling of spirituality is the constant search or remembrance that we are connected, and that we live in a spiritual path of constantly reminding ourselves to be connected and to remember that we are loved, and to practice a life of love and loving. So I think that's, for me, is spirituality, is remembering that we're connected and then practicing living love.
Fascinating. Thank you for sharing your background. It's interesting that we all connect in different ways. Like you shared, you started through nature. You always felt like there was something missing, and I think a lot of us can relate to it. We're all in a search, and we're all searching for this connection. Can you tell us, like, now we understand like your background and what spirituality means for you? What do you use as a practical practice? Like, what is your spiritual practice that maybe grounds you or keeps you connected?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I grew up in nature, so there wasn't a separation of being disconnected. I think when you live connected to the land and you're in nature, you always are connected. But as you grow up and you start to go to school and you start to, deal with humans and relationships,
always becomes more complicated.
Yes, it becomes more complicated. And
my
then,
friend always said life was so much easier if it wasn't for the people.
Right. We also, we go through our own experiences of being hurt and seeing hurt in the world. And so I think we kind of go through this experience of kind of forgetting and not remembering. And so it wasn't till years later, and I was 19, 20, that I experienced theta healing. And in theta healing, there's a practice that we do of, you could call it a meditation, though it's not like what most people think of meditation, of just sitting there clearing your thoughts. It's not like that at all. It's a guided practice of visualization that walks you through reconnecting with the energy of all that is. That you're actually going through this process and these steps of connecting. And it also changes your brain waves, your brain cycles, and it puts you into a very deep theta delta wave. And so your consciousness changes and you become aware of your oneness with all that is. But you also awaken to a communication with this intelligence, the intelligence of unconditional love. And so my practices, what I use is actually connecting in the morning and throughout my day, and when I work with clients and in the evening, so that I can see myself, my life, the people that I love from this higher consciousness, because it's changing my perspective. And I ask for guidance, I set my intentions, I do readings on myself to see, why am I creating this in my life? Where am I blocking myself? And how can I change it? What am I needing to do right now? Is it belief work? Is it a different choice? Is it setting a different intention? Am I learning something right now that I need to really be conscious of and step into that? So I think my spiritual practice is looking at my life and being aware of it and seeing where I'm needing to grow, where I'm needing to step up, where I'm needing to be more loving, or where I'm needing to set stronger boundaries, or whatever it is that's being presented to me. It's connecting, and then it's asking to grow. So that's how I guess I view my spiritual practices, is towards growing. What in my life is forcing me to grow, and in what way? That's how I experience it.
And I know theta healing is so rich and it has so many aspects. So you mentioned belief work, you mentioned reading on myself. So I'm sure for our audience there's more that they can check out and see what all these things actually mean more in depth. Maybe too long for this video, but it's cool stuff. It's exciting stuff.
I have to say, it's become very easy for me because I made my spiritual practice my profession. So I actually realized, it was actually just this morning, I woke up, I was like, I'm just really grumpy right now. And I realized, oh gosh, I've been on vacation for 2 weeks. I haven't been working on people. Wait a second, when was the last time
that's when you're doing the right
meditated? I'm just spending time with family. So it's really easy to feel that spiritual maintenance of having a profession of service, having this sense of being able to do sessions and teach classes, and we've worked really hard on integrating the practices of theta healing into our business structure as well. So we don't just methodically make decisions. We actually go into meditation and ask Creator, what decision should we make? You know, so it's something that is like a constant in our life, or in my life. I can't speak for you, I guess, but we work together. We do it. So in this way, the practice is just like giving attention to a relationship. You know, so that relationship has so many different levels to it. There's kind of that daily service maintenance of connecting in, meditating, kind of setting my mindset, working on myself when I get triggered on things, so that I actually clear away my limitations, so that I can open up for more of a spiritual essence in another area of my life. But then there's a little bit more of a personal thing where I do go back to my roots, and I want to like take a hike and get into nature and get away from people, or do some physical exercise or something that connects me in a different brainwave state. And then something that I find really important is then also having a more significant ritual. You know, I think this is one of the beautiful things in religions is the sense of holiday, that you have a specific time where there's a group conscious experience of it, not just on a personalized level. And so that's one thing that we work on as a family is making sure that spirituality is part of our ritual of holidays as well.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Lighting candles, manifesting, setting the intention for the beginning of the year, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So in closure, maybe you can just tell us, very short, one thing that is challenging for you in your spiritual work, and one thing that is the most rewarding for you about your spiritual work.
Well, that in a way is a paradox, because I like to push myself in spirituality and kind of go towards that mystic place a little bit more. So the greatest reward is actually challenging myself in that next step. You know, actually playing with things outside myself and working intuition in a different way and challenging myself to learn something new.
So you make the challenge enjoyable.
Yeah. Otherwise, the challenges that come are really just not fun. You know,
Well, that's
I
the
don't want
challenge. That's the negative challenge, right?
Because if I just live my life and wait for challenge, then it's going to come through my unconscious self that's going to be like a drama in my family, or an emotional thing happening, or a health issue. And I really choose not to live my life that way. I don't want to have to continue to learn through those types of challenges. So I want to meet my challenge in a controlled way.
How do you keep yourself motivated to constantly challenge yourself?
Creating things.
Creating things.
Yeah.
Manifesting, creating things.
If you don't put your mind to a goal, a focus of something, and I think it's both. It's aligning your higher purpose with your desire. And so when you can do that and actually have instincts from your soul of like what you're meant to do in this life, and you can align it with what you want, you can create goals. And if you put focus in that and intention and work towards that, then you're directing your energy in a positive way. But as soon as you kind of back up and just let the people around you create your life, then chaos can happen. So I think it really is about really stepping into the ownership as you are the creator of your life. What are you going to create?
Rather than letting your unconscious run the show.
Yeah.
Totally.
Powerful.
I think what I find, I said my spiritual practice is growing. So I think the challenge is that when we do call for certain goals and experiences, we also need to step up into them. We have to step up into our own abilities. And that may be something, like I said, like strength or fortitude, or maybe it's more kindness, whatever we're needing for that next goal. So if we actually can participate in that and actively curate those capacities, it's really beautiful. It's like you're empowered in it. But sometimes we also attract lessons into our life to support us into these new capacities, these new abilities. So as long, I think, as you can see things again from a higher perspective and not feel like life is doing this to me, but oh, this is happening because it's stretching my capacity to grow, and you have that awareness, I think you can really step up into that challenge in a very empowered way. I think, to be honest though, the biggest challenge living a spiritual life is having acceptance for those that aren't. And I find that that's actually one of the biggest challenges for most spiritual people, is there can almost be this judgment. You're not,
like, I'm up here.
Yes.
What a
Yeah, you're not doing the work. You're not doing the right
and then
thing.
it becomes like a spiritual ego, right? Like,
Yes, totally. So I actually think, if you were to honestly answer that question, is to have more acceptance for the people in my life and for my friends, my family, and for myself when we're not hitting the mark of what we know we should be doing, or how we think they are failing somehow in their spiritual practice. So I would say that is the biggest thing, if I will be honest. And the most rewarding is fulfillment. I think that living a spiritual life, if I look at my life, I truly have everything I've ever asked for. I'm so fulfilled. I have a family, I have a husband, I have children, I have a beautiful roof over my head, I have food, I have a work that I love to do. So I think ultimately living a spiritual life is very fulfilling, at least for me.
Beautiful. Very insightful. Thank you so much
Thank
for doing
you.
this with us. Do you want to tell our audience maybe a little bit about where they can find you or what's coming up, so they can, if they're interested to join anything, whether here in LA or New York?
Yeah. So for those of you that are in LA, as we said, we're coming to the Kabbalah Center in October, and we're doing an evening event called Empower Your Life. So if you're interested and you just want to dip your toe in and get a little experience, we'll be leading an event here and then teaching our foundational level classes, basic, advanced, and dig deeper. And as you said, we have our healing center, ThetahealingNYC in New York City, where we teach classes and we do free events, and we lead you through healing and process, and that you can find more information at ThetahealingNYC.com. Anything more?
And if you want any other videos, you can also visit our YouTube as well, ThetahealingNYC. And thank you so much for hosting us
Thank
here.
you
This is
guys.
Thank
wonderful.
you.
It would be awesome.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.